and MacArthur turned out to be a nail-biter at Northeast Stadium. Meanwhile, Kennedy and Memorial were both looking for their first victory of the year on Friday night. One of those teams did get into the win column. We'll tell you which one in a few minutes. All that and more coming up. Can you believe it? 3 more weeks of high school football and we are into the playoffs in Class 5A. We're winding down the regular season and the top-rated teams continue to roll on. But by far the most exciting game this week was Thursday night. On Thursday evening at Northeast Stadium, Lee went up against MacArthur as it was homecoming night for the Brahmas. The Brahmas would get out of the gate early. On the opening kickoff, MacArthur will run a trick play. 3 Brahmas will touch the ball before Adrian Salazar will head toward the sidelines. Salazar will crank up his rocket speed and head upfield for an apparent MacArthur touchdown. But wait a second. Number 85, George Paul, will clip a volunteer at the Lee 25-yard line, and the ball will be brought back to the 40. However, 3 plays later, Dia Cho will take the handoff at the 30, break a tackle, and take it on in for the MacArthur score. 6-0, Brahmas early. The Volunteers will work their way back. A 16-play, 71-yard drive will be capped off by this Keith Martin 12-yard touchdown run. Lee will set up its next score here. Quarterback Pete Ortiz drops back and fires a perfect strike to split in Ronnie Henderson 52 yards downfield to the MacArthur 5-yard line. The next play, it's Keith Martin scoring once again, and now the Vols lead moves up to 14-6. But the Brahmas come back again. Tailback Chris Wright will take the handoff at his own 48, busts through a few tackles, then heads 52 yards for the MacArthur score as Mack cuts the Lee advantage to 2 at halftime. The Brahmas will set up their next touchdown of the night in the 3rd quarter. Quarterback John Fisher will find Chris Wright in the flat. Wright will then weave his way down to the Lee 6-yard line. On 4th and goal from the 2, Demetrius Peel lunges his way across the goal line, and MacArthur owns a 6-point lead. Midway through the 4th quarter, Pete Ortiz will loft one to Tommy Perez. Perez, with a sensational catch, falls into the end zone. The Vols on top again, 21-18. But the Brahmas have one last chance. On the last play of the game, John Fisher will roll out to his right. Fisher will be met by linebacker Kevin Culberson at the Volunteers' 18-yard line as Lee spoils MacArthur's homecoming, winning it 21-18. In other 5A games on Friday night, the South Stand Bobcats improved their overall mark to 5-1-1 after their 14-6 win over Southwest High School. It's their best record since 1974. Meanwhile, in a squeaker over in District 35A, the Eagle Pass Eagles edged the Marshall Rams 7-6. David Chisholm passed 9 yards to Rudy De La Garza for the winning touchdown, and Joe Gonzalez hit the extra point, which turned out to be the difference. Once again, the Holmes Huskies are the unanimous choice for the top spot in our Express News Ken's high school football poll. Holmes received 5 first-place votes. The Huskies are still undefeated. Clark is second. Judson number 3 after a 28-0 win over Lee last week. Sam Houston 4th. Churchill number 5. Madison 6th. Roosevelt number 7. Jefferson 8th. Seguin number 9. And John Jay is in there at number 10. In the sub-5A poll, New Braunfels is still number 1. Devine with 2 first-place votes is second. Central Catholic is 3rd. Pleasanton 4th. Cole is 5th. The Cougars moved up 5 spots after a win over Somerset. Lavernia is 6th. New Braunfels, Canyon, Medina Valley, Somerset, and Bernie round out the top 10. On Thursday, it was Parents' Night for the Sam Houston Cherokees. Before the game, the football players brought some of their moms and dads out onto the field to introduce them to the crowd. They saw a great game as Burbank gives the Cherokees a run for it in the first half. This is Danny Martinez on the 22-yard gain down to the 48. The Bulldogs get all the way down to the Cherokees' 11-yard line but miss a field goal attempt. The Bulldogs get another big break first quarter as Sam Houston fumbles at its own 10-yard line. But once again, the drive ends up with a missed field goal. Sam Houston scores on its next drive. One play, quarterback Brian Williams on the fly pattern to Ronji Hill. Hill carries 80 yards for the touchdown. It's 6-0. They miss the point after. But once again, the Bulldogs march 8 plays, 69 yards for a TD. Albert Macias passing to Saul Sanchez, who makes the catch on the deflection. 7-6, Burbank leads. It's time for the Cherokees band to fire their team members up. Well, they do it as Sam Houston takes the lead back on this 36-yard touchdown run by James Crumity. 12-7, Sam Houston. Beautiful run by Crumity. Second half action now. Houston on the warpath again in the fourth quarter. On the reverse, Dominic Cameron carries 22 yards to the Cherokees' 43. 3rd and 6 from the Burbank 35 now. Sidney Kimball hits Ranji Hill on the screen pass. It looked to us like Hill scored this touchdown here, but he tiptoes down the sideline, but the ball's placed back at the 10. Ranji, not happy with that call, decides to argue the point with the official. He was definitely in bounds. No problem. 2 plays later, Hill finds a gaping hole up the middle for a 6-yard touchdown, 20-7. The Cherokees add a safety to win 22-7 over the Burbank Bulldogs. In District 29 5A, it looks like it'll be a fight to the finish between Laredo United and the Seguin Matadors. On Friday night, Seguin blasted Harlandale 42-6. The Matadors are undefeated in district and are 6-1 overall. Meanwhile, Laredo United is also undefeated. They beat crosstown rival Nixon 21-2. Juan Garcia, the game's leading rusher, with 73 yards on 13 carries. Seguin and United will meet in Laredo in 2 weeks. We hope to have highlights of that one. In a 35A contest in Del Rio, the Del Rio Rams scored 20 of their 27 points in the first quarter as the Rams beat John Jay 27-16. And still to come, the Player of the Week. Highlights from a key game in 28 5A, and we'll show you Judson's rout of San Marcos.
Ken's High School Football Highlights is sponsored in part
iron fight down to the final gun. The Judson Rockets set the pace, but the Madison Mavericks are still in the combat zone for a chance to win district or finish second. Much of the Mav momentum is provided by a young speedster who leads the city in rushing yardage. Gary DeLon tells about our Ken's Player of the Week.
The Orange Crush, as Madison has often been called, has squeezed a lot of opponents the past few years, and in 1988, the Mavericks have performed well under first-year coach Mark Saunders. Last week, the Mavs had to pull one out of their fantastic photo finishes, a 22-21 victory over East Central. Marcus Moss was the Maverick hero. The super senior raced for 144 yards on 23 carries. He roamed from sideline to sideline like a scared cat, or should we say Maverick.
I guess I've probably gotten all these yards and all this publicity and everything because of, you know, the line. The offensive line, I got to say, they've been blocking real good. And the other back that's in the backfield with me, Derek Hayes, I mean, you got to say if he wasn't back there for them to have to watch him too, then I probably couldn't get anywhere.
But his real gem came on defense. He utilized his speed to block a field goal try that would have won it for East Central. Coach Saunders, who moved here from North Texas, has great faith in Moss and the 88 Mavs.
Well, naturally, he is probably one of our better ball carriers, and I think, you know, I'm be fooling us and everybody else if I said that he were not. But he's a very good football player, and we try to get it to him as often as we possibly can.
Marcus Moss, winner of our Awards Mart Trophy as the Player of the Week. Other honors may follow. I'm Gary DeLon, Ken's High School Highlights.
The most important matchup in District 28 5A Friday night pitted the Jefferson Mustangs against the Fox Tech Buffaloes. Both teams 2-1 in district play going into the contest. The Mustangs score on their opening drive. This sets up the touchdown. Quarterback Johnny Gomez pitches to Angel Saratin. Saratin pushed out of bounds at the Buffaloes' 42. A face mask call moves the ball to the 37. Then the Mustangs go for the touchdown on 4th and 4 from the 17. Eddie Weddington on the draw play carries it in for the TD. 6-0, the point after missed. Jefferson scores again before the quarter ends, setting up the TD on a nice punt return by Pablo Ruiz. Ruiz returns it 27 yards before he's finally brought down by Tex Thomas Huddleston at the Jefferson 43. First play from scrimmage, J.J. Sierra breaks loose for a beautiful run, 36 yards down to the Buffaloes' 21. Then on 2nd and 6 from the 17, quarterback Johnny Gomez pitches to Saratin for the TD. Jeff leads this one 12-0. Second quarter now, the Mustangs in Buffalo's territory again. Eddie Weddington on the pitch from Larry Peche moves the ball 32 yards down to the 16. Weddington shaken up on the play, but he later walks off the field under his own power. Very next play, it's J.J. Sierra on the carry, 16 yards for the touchdown. The Mustangs are up 18-0. The two-point conversion attempt good as Pablo Ruiz runs it in, 20-0 Jeff at halftime. Fox Tech holds Jefferson in the second half until the fourth quarter. That's when the Mustangs force the turnover and recover the ball at the Fox Tech 29. 3 plays later, Larry Peche fakes the handoff, then pitches to Pablo Ruiz, who carries around the left side for the touchdown. The Mustangs win over Fox Tech 27-0. The Churchill Chargers put on an offensive display Friday night in their game against the East Central Hornets. Churchill amassed 407 yards in total offense, over 250 yards of that on the ground. Running back Jimbo Parks ran for 122 yards on 14 carries. He scored 1 touchdown, kicked a field goal, and 4 extra points. The New Braunfels Unicorns handed the Alamo Heights Mules a homecoming loss as they defeated the Mules 28-14. Alamo Heights off to a bad start, 1-6 overall on the year. The Unicorns are still undefeated. And in San Marcos on Friday, the Judson Rockets steamrolled San Marcos. Judson will go up 14-0 in the first quarter. Tommy Ramey will find Jeff Stanzione in the corner of the end zone for the Rockets score. In the second quarter, the Rockets run the reverse. Stanzione heads down the sidelines, 20 yards for the Judson touchdown, as the Rockets are blasting this one open early. Judson will appear to set up its next TD. Defensive back Darnell Stevens picks off the Rattlers' Gilbert Cortez at the 40 and runs it back 27 yards to the San Marcos 13. But on 4th and goal, Vincent Kyle is stacked up at the line of scrimmage, and Judson takes a 20-0 advantage into the locker room. The Rockets will increase their lead to 27 early in the third quarter. Kyle Arnell takes the pitch at the 45, cuts to the outside, slides inside of a block, and races home to the end zone. And there's still more to come. Judson's 5th score of the evening is set up by this play. Vincent Kyle taking the pitch at the 18. He rambles 17 yards to the Rattlers 1. On the ensuing play, Kyle will bull his way into the end zone to pad the Rockets' lead to 34, and the score is making a lot of heads spin. We go to ground level for the final touchdown of the night. Chris Milligan takes it in from 4 yards out as the Rockets blast the Rattlers into another universe, 40-0.
Proud of them. I think the kids came out with a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of intensity, and moved the ball well offensively, and played good defensively, and I was proud of the kicking game.
The Uvalde Coyotes stomped the Edgewood Red Raiders Friday night. The Red Raiders coughed the football up 5 times. That hurt them as Uvalde took advantage of those turnovers en route to the 40-7 win. The Coyotes still undefeated in district. The Clemens Buffaloes handed Central Catholic its first loss of the year Friday night as Clemens cruised by the buttons 39-20. Clemens rolled up 359 yards on the ground. It was homecoming for the Holmes Huskies at Northside Stadium Friday night. For the Huskies, it was game number 6 in week number 7. Their season minus a game thanks to Hurricane Gilbert. The undefeated Huskies put their 5-0 record against the Raiders of Taft. A rash of dropped passes and inconsistent play on offense forced Holmes to rely on its defense. Andre Hollins scored an apparent touchdown on this interception, but it was called back on a clipping penalty. Still, the Huskies retained the ball, and it took just one play for quarterback Mike Perez to turn it upfield for an 18-yard touchdown run. Holmes led 7-0. Later in the second quarter, it was another Taft turnover. This time, a fumble deep in Raider territory. Chavez recovers at the 1-yard line. It took a couple of tries, but Nathan Bennett punched it in from a yard out. That was all the scoring for Holmes. They led and eventually won 14-0. The final bit of suspense was ended at halftime as Holmes crowned both a king and a queen of homecoming. The New Braunfels Canyon Cougars slipped past Bernie on Friday. The Greyhounds threatened late in the fourth quarter, but Cougars linebacker Austin Montano sacked the Bernie quarterback on 4th and goal from the 3, 17-14 Bernie. Medina Valley crushed the Cole Cougars this weekend after fumbling 3 times. Panthers halfback Michael Reyes answered with 134 yards rushing on 16 carries, 34-0 Medina Valley over Cole. And coming up, we'll journey to Pleasanton on this week's road trip, and Kennedy gets its first win of the season. After Friday night's rout of the West Campus Cougars, it looks like District 29 4A will boil down to the final game of the season between Pleasanton and Uvalde. This week, Michael Laird went on the road to Pleasanton and says a face from the past is making the difference in this year's ball club.
7 years ago, Coach Hank Kutzer left Pleasanton High School for bigger and better things. But now he's back, looking to revitalize the Eagles after a disappointing record last season.
Realistically, I didn't know if they'll be able to pick up the new offense, new defense. So I'm really impressed with that, being able to pick up the offense and defense in the scheme of things. Early in the year is probably more my fault the first game, although Devine has a good game. I think a good team rather. I think we put too much on them, too many offensive formations, too many plays. And I think after that game, we realized we couldn't do that much. So we tried to pull back and start from scratch and start off real slow, and that paid off for us.
The new Eagle offense racked up 35 points against Edgewood last week. Obviously, the new offensive scheme has paid off.
Well, the offense is explosive. Sometimes they get dying, but you never know when there's going to be a big play.
How do you feel the offensive line is this year?
Well, we're small, but we get up underneath people and move people off the ball and open up holes for backs to run and everything.
Currently, the Eagles have only one loss on the season. Is that a result of the changing of the guard?
How do you feel about the new coach this year?
New coach is awesome.
With the new coach and a new attitude, the Eagles may be able to soar higher than they ever have before. In Pleasanton, I'm Michael Laird for Ken's High School Highlights.
The Kennedy Rockets and the Memorial Minutemen, both looking for their first wins of the season, met each other on Friday night. Memorial will set up its first and only score of the evening here. Quarterback Isadora Lopez hits split end Chris Wethington 13 yards downfield at the Kennedy 10. 3 plays later, Terry Stevenson finds the open hole to give the Minutemen a 7-0 lead in the first quarter. But the Rockets blast back. Adam Villarreal will take the pitch at the Memorial 35. He cuts outside, then scampers 14 yards to the 21-yard line. Armando Gutierrez will then fight his way into the end zone from 4 yards away to cut the Rockets' deficit to 1, and that play sends the Rocket cheerleaders into orbit. In the second quarter, the Rockets will close out the scoring for both teams on the night as Adam Villarreal takes the pitch on the option play and scoots into the corner of the end zone for a 12-7 Rockets victory. The Lavernia Bears pounded the Marion Bulldogs on Friday. The Bears and the Bulldogs were both 5-1 going into the game. With the 32-0 victory, Lavernia clinches at least a tie for a playoff spot. In Class 3A, the Somerset Bulldogs trounced Randolph Friday. Quarterback Johnny Garcia ran for 2 touchdowns and passed for another in the 33-14 win. On Friday night, the McCollum Cowboys were eaten alive by the Laredo Martin Tigers at Harlandale Stadium. Laredo Martin scored first, but the Cowboys are quick to respond. Here, quarterback Leonard Perez fires this nice 30-yard pass to Fred Anthony, who's taken out at the 20. Now from the 9, Perez looking to the end zone and connects with Jeff Noah, and it's a touchdown for the Cowboys. The extra point good. It's tied 7 apiece. On the Tigers' next possession, they're forced to punt. Perez from his own 35 takes to the air again and finds Jose Salas at the 50. He turns on the speed and carries the ball 50 yards along the sidelines. Touchdown McCollum, a 60-yard pass play. The Cowboys take an early 14-7 lead. But the momentum would change drastically. Laredo Martin's Ricardo Ramirez pitches out to Raul Rosales at the 15. He takes it in for one of many Tigers touchdowns. They missed the extra point. It's 14-13. Next, Laredo Martin tries the onside kick. It travels 20 yards. There's not a Cowboy around, and the Tigers take possession. Laredo then takes the lead when Ramirez tosses to Fernie Lopez. He takes it in from the 3, touchdown Tigers. And they lead 19-14. And from here on out, it's all Tigers. Still in the first half, the Tigers pounce on Perez. He coughs it up, and they recover on the Cowboys' 25. Then from the 10, Ramirez hands off to Rod Aldafi, who breezes his way past the Cowboys for another Tigers touchdown, 31-14. Things didn't look any better for the Cowboys in the second half. Perez is picked off at midfield by Laredo's Thomas Rodriguez, and the Tigers take control again. They take advantage of the turnover and score on this pass from Ramirez to Billy Ray Pivito. They go on to win it 63-22. The Floresville Tigers shut down the Southside Cardinals Friday night 52-0. The Tigers defense held the Cardinals to 19 yards passing, minus 21 yards rushing, and only 1 first down. Devine, ranked number 2 in the Express News Ken's poll, also blew out a team. The Warhorses defeated Poteet 47-0 and are now 6-0. Now let's hand off to Bob Watson with this week's You Be the Ref segment. Bob? highlights and scores. Gary.
There was no war dance at Antonian Saturday afternoon. St. Anthony scalped the Apaches 33-8. The Yellow Jackets go up 6-0 as Lalo Vargas takes the pitch out, breaks to the outside, and goes in for the score. It's a long afternoon for the Apaches. No wigwam wampum last night. The Jackets will increase their lead to 20-0 in the second period. Vargas again taking the pitch, and he rambles 10 yards for the score. St. Anthony stops Antonian 33-8. At Northeast Stadium, not all the Cavs were on the gridiron. Rick James at quarterback in the pocket, but he's picked off in the secondary by Roosevelt Cedric Walker. He rambles down the far sideline, goes in for the score, 26 yards. Roosevelt upsets Madison 10-7. At Alamo Stadium last night, somewhat of an upset. Edison's Golden Bears score first. They go up 12-0 over Highlands as Clyde Harvey fights his way in from 3 yards out. The Owls fought back, but Edison hung on to win 32-27. This is the Saturday night scoreboard. St. Anthony 33-8 over Antonian. It was Roosevelt upsetting Madison 10-7. Edison 32, Highlands 27. Lanier stunned Brackenridge 32-6, and Clark shut out Corpus Christi Miller 35-0.
Thanks, Gary. Let's see what happened in the area now. Our featured band is from Robert E. Lee. That's the show for this week. Join us for Week 8 of the high school football season next Sunday. Now stay tuned.